So I'm thinking of making a part 2 to this video where I go through a couple of different programs and make updated versions that either actually work better, or look better, or some other thing. Let me know if you like that. 3 people who watch this video, but guess what? Your opinion doesn't matter. I'm going to do it anyways because I feel like it. Alright, so see ya. Hey YouTube, welcome back. On this month's Xander's finally uploading one video, I'm going to be looking at my old Java projects that I once worked on and have never worked on since. I think this should be fun. No one else has done anything remotely like this with any sort of media before, so I'm going to make a breakthrough and do this now today with you right now recording it. I'm just going to jump straight into it with 3D objects, one project I did make at one time. 3D objects is basically, look ma, I made 6 quads look like a cube. Next up we've got 4D. 4D is actually really impressive, especially for the time. And it can do this. 5D is basically a clone of 4D, except it has worse controls and it does this. Alarm clock, incredible. You can set the time. What more could you possibly want? 3D attempt, a slow and low quality 3D type thing, back made in 1980 before OpenGL was created. Circuitizer, at one point I was into electronics and breadboards. I used to use them a lot, so I made this to, I think it was supposed to help me design breadboard stuff, but never started. City, a Sims-like thing that never got started. DZ Mod, a little edit of a game called Danger Zone, which is made by They Call Me Danger, the guy who made Warspawn. It's actually pretty good, despite being really similar to Minecraft for obvious reasons. He left 1.7 because Minecraft couldn't handle his mod anymore, so he made this, and I made this edit of it. Images to GIF does exactly what you'd expect. I mean, really, what more could you possibly want from this? Map Decoder, an actually pretty recent project that allows me to open and save PNGs as well as open and save maps. So you can do image to map, or you can do map to image. Like you'll see here, you can convert an image to a map palette, so you can save the map then and open up in your Minecraft world. Speaking of Minecraft, here we are with Minecraft Alpha 1. Back in 2008, you know, way back then, back when I started Minecraft before I sold it to Notch, I had this source code, which I don't have libraries for anymore, so I can't run it. Hello? Music samples. Whenever it says music or sound in the title, I always plug my ears before opening it. Normal Buddy, another fairly recent project that allows me to convert images to a normal map and see what it looked like on that image. So for example, here's this image of my favorite person alive, compiled into a normal map, what it would look like without color, and then what the original image would look like with that map. You can also change the depth on this, so it can have more of a effect on whatever image you're putting with it. Now you can see around his glasses that there definitely is an effect. And of course you can go negative with it in case it's normal mapped the wrong way. Open Audio Library, never started. OpenGL 3D, a project that I don't have libraries for anymore. But this was a world where you'd be sitting on my icon and there would be a floating teapot, snakes that would run around, and at one point there were carrots in the sky. Particle Fun, a little testing program to see how well particles for our Vopia would work, like rain, snow, and water that would never come back down. Next up we got Paul's Code Sound Test. This is the library I use for Vopia music. That's it. Here we have a platformer template that I made. Really doesn't do much. It's not very different from other platformers, except that each tile has its own individual bounding box, so you can do weird shapes like this little pole here and these squished blocks. Doesn't work fully, and very slow, not good performance, so I wouldn't use it really. Pong 12x12. This is also back when I was still into electronics, so I planned on making this a game using LEDs. It's a fully functioning game of Pong with a really weird ending screen. Protons. I believe this was a game where you'd shoot protons and they'd reflect off things and hit lights and other surfaces, but so far these protons do all. Reflections, another program that I believe was supposed to help test things for proton, which, I mean, no wonder it works. I mean, look at it, it just does that. Rolling ball, you can't tell me that ball is rolling, it's just being like that. Incredible. 3 months this year I've been a part of a game jam called Squarespace Game Jam. The gimmick of that jam was there'd be a theme, you'd have to make a game based on that theme, and you had to have a high score system. So these are my 3 entries. This is the one from June. It was supposed to be a destruction based thing, so I had this little guy and he'd throw bombs. Unfortunately, like with the platformer template I explained, this was extremely slow, so I didn't submit it. This is my March submission. This was a game where it was an infinite runner type thing where you'd just be in this place and your goal was to stay alive, and there'd be things falling from the ceiling and there would be platforms that you could jump to. You had a certain amount of health, and because the procedural generation is half at, I just made it so you could double jump 3 times in total, so it's not a bug, it's a feature. Now my May submission, this was actually my favorite. It's one of my favorite games I've ever made. You'd be this little plant guy, and you'd go around and plant shoots, and you could climb these shoots to get to the end of the level or to collect coins. Look, you can even place them on walls. I mean, how cool is that? You could also place shoots on themselves, and there were enemies, so there were obstacles in this game. You kill the enemies with the shoot if you planted them at the right time and in the right place. But at some point the levels got so bad because I didn't have any time, so it just got impossible near the ending. So yeah. Also, when I exported, there was no sound and no high score system, basically disqualifying me from the competition. Server Examples was a school project I did where I tried to make a reliable, or at least simple, server and client so that you could use it for whatever you need to. You could even use it for like a chatting thing. That's all. I mean, it was an example. So up next is a Level Creator version 0.1, but it's not for Arvopian, instead it's for a different game that I'm definitely sure you'll never be able to guess what it is. SMBLC2, a Level Creator version 0.3 that I'm definitely sure you wouldn't be able to guess what the name of it is. Look, this time you have entities like Pipe, Goomba, Koopa, and Coin. Up next we have a mini-MIDI program that sadly doesn't really work that well, despite being a fun idea and a pretty simple tool. I think I know how I could make it work, but yeah, it just does that. Next up is a kind of recent project that I actually really liked. It was supposed to be a realistic at least, solar system simulation, and I can't find Mercury. Now here's that super secret game I was talking about earlier with the level creators. It's called Marbo. It has pretty similar physics to a very popular game that was once in the NES. I forget what the name of it is, but it works pretty well. I mean, you can kind of jump and break blocks. Sometimes if you hit a block in the right spot, you'll get stuck and get pushed to the corner of the block, but you can still just move out of the block. You can also, there's also this weird power-up I came up with It's like a fire flower type of thing where you could throw fireballs. I mean, the fireballs don't really match the popular game I was talking about, but they work. And also there's this power star that like makes you rainbow, kind of, except it's not rainbow, it's like a weird palette. Surprisingly, this is a game that I actually did finish. I mean, look at it. Oh. Now, Time Tabs is probably one of my first ever creations. This is a recreation that doesn't actually work. I don't think so, at least. But I have the original processing code. I used processing for this somewhere. Check out processing, by the way, if you're into programming and you want to get started somewhere. Processing is very useful. So right now, if I start this, you'll see kind of what I was going for. It's just a program where you can check what time it is, see where the red line is. Kind of, that doesn't work. And also, what my main goal was to be able to create new things, which unfortunately just doesn't work. So I would have been able to mark when things have started and when things have ended in my life. So you can also save, though, I think. No, you can't. Never mind. Why would I think that? That'd be silly. But moving on to the next thing in Eclipse, we've got something called trading design, which is something that I use currently to make designs for different dialogues. And it would go something like that, and then connect these. I think. Come on. There you go. You connect these, you can name your trader thing, you could save it, and it'd give you a bunch of code that you can copy paste into. If you were to make a mod for Arvopia, you'd use this code that it would give you to make a interaction thing. But moving on from that, we got Translator, which is a program that I made for me and my friend when my friend had made a secret language. This was a long time ago. So it's called Siva. So we're gonna translate the classic. Oh, that's right, you can't use uppercase letters because that would be too much effort. Copy this, run it again, and we're gonna translate it to English. We use that. It's gonna give us Hello World. Marvelous, isn't it? But moving on from that, we've got Tutorial Game, which is originally what I called Arvopia up until Arvopia version 0.4. So this is just a mishmash of what Arvopia was in between 0.3 and 0.4. So I have the cannibals here, and I have the sun. The sun is shaded in this very early version for some unforsaken reason. And it's very laggy, as you would expect from a very, very early version of 0.4 where there was supposed to be lighting and stuff. I don't know how I got from this to 0.4, but it happened. And so we're just going to move on from that to Vector Field. Vector Field's really fun and very interesting. So there are three... Hang on one second, I gotta set up this library again. So there are three different types of vector fields. You'll see what a vector field is in a moment, but it'll have particles going around in the vector field, and this is one of them, where it's just regular noise. You might have seen stuff like this for like animation type things, where it'd just be those wisps of light, if you know what I'm talking about. That's this, but with millions and millions of particles. So this is a step away from that. I mean, it would be really, really slow. Well, actually, I'm not too sure how slow it would be with that amount of particles, but this is what it is so far. Now we can make the field type 1 and run this again. Field type 1 is, I believe, things just being sucked into the center. So it's just a gravitational field without orbit. It's just exactly like that, except you also got things moving in and out of it. There are actually a lot of particles in there, but you just can't see much farther from the center because the way I made the particles draw. So let me see if I can change that real quick. 1 second. Now doing this again, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about with all the particles out here that are moving so slow that with the way I rendered them originally, they wouldn't even show up. So that's what that looks like. Let's move on to field type 2. Now running this, you'll get this this is my favorite field. You'll get this curve of stuff like a black hole. I'm gonna make this faster, this is a little boring. Now as you see, that's much more fun. Looks actually a lot more like a black hole. It's actually quite cool to look at. I enjoy this one a lot. I love this project, I think it's fun, it looks cool. Might do something like this in the future again. I love these sorts of things. But before I move on from this, let me see what it looks like with 1 million particles on the first one. I think I added too many particles, believe it or not. Right now, all I'm seeing is blue. I think things are changing. Looks like it. Here's 100,000. It's gonna take a while to get into a form that might look familiar. I'm sure you can see exactly where I'm going with the wisps of light thing. It can look like that. I didn't program it in quite the right way that'll work. So this is all I got so far. But finally, moving on from that, we've got yet another sound project called VibSynth. Moving again from that, we got Weak Projection Lab. When I founded OpenGL, this was the first version, alright? You got yourself this little, I think, what is this? I almost said dodecahedron, I don't think that's what that is.
Icosahedron.
This little shape. And you got, the resolution is really low. At one point I did have diffuse lighting, but then I tried to add specular and no longer works, so there. Wolfenstein 3D Remake, because why not? This project is just basic OpenGL 3D with walls in it. Except you aren't even placed in the walls, you just are able to walk over them. Like, look, there they are. There's the walls. They don't even have floors or anything. There's also a smaller PNG of a wall. Now that is actually all the project. I've gone through all of them that I wanted to talk about. A lot of the rest of them are just Arvopius stuff that you've already seen, or you haven't seen them, in which case check out the rest of my channel. And then a lot of them were just empty or didn't work and they weren't worth talking about. So I love all of these. These have a special place in my heart, except all the sound ones. Those can go burn in hell.